the ocean. Is it Alaska? I think Alaska is actually on the
All right. How are we doing tonight, guys? Good. Oops. Before we get started, I wanted to share a little story with you guys. Now, if some of you have been here for a while, you might have heard this story before, but it's perfect. So tonight we're talking about bulletproof immunity. And when I got to chiropractic school, I knew nothing about it. I was doing immunity backwards, right? And it's a lot like, I hear from some of my patients, none of you guys have never said this. But, I'll get the phone call and be like, Dr. Judy, I can't come in today, I'm just not feeling it. Right? And anybody ever hear anybody say that? No, I hope not, because that's the worst possible thing to say. When you're not feeling good, the best possible thing to do is come in for an adjustment. Why? Well, it goes back to when I started chiropractic school. So I knew going into chiropractic school absolutely nothing. I thought I knew a lot, kind of like how your 6-year-old knows better than you in just about everything. Well, I thought I knew about sickness. I thought I knew about health, but it turns out I was just getting my toes. But I got to chiropractic school. I started to learn all these stories. I heard about my chiropractic story and how the chiropractor had saved my life. I learned about Harvey Willard and Danny Palmer and how they got his hearing back with an adjustment. And so I'm like, okay, so this is bigger than just back pain, right? And so I get into the second quarter of school. So now I've been there about 4 months. Now I think I know what chiropractic is. And I'd heard just enough about chiropractic to know that a really good thing to do when you're feeling sick is to go get an adjustment. I had no idea why, didn't know any of the science, and hadn't experienced it for myself. But about 2 weeks into that second quarter, I'm sitting in Biochem 2 class. And if you guys know anything about Biochem 2, it's not one where you can really get very much if you're not feeling your best. And I was shivering. I was just like, it was kind of a day like today where it was warm outside, so I was in shorts and short sleeves. But in Georgia, where I went to chiropractic school, they always kept all the buildings at about 63 degrees Fahrenheit, just all the time. And so I know some of you don't like the cold temperatures very much. So I was cold like that. I was just like going to town, just shivering the whole time. And so I get in about 15 minutes, and I'm like, I can't pay attention. I'm just so cold. So I leave class, just kind of discreetly make my way out, and I walk over to the bookstore. The bookstore has, reasonably priced $50 sweatshirts. So I go there, I buy this reasonably priced $50 sweatshirt. I put it on, and I walk back down to class, and I sit down. And I notice I'm still shivering, but it's not because I'm cold anymore. Now it's because I'm in pain, and just this whole body ache just starts hitting all over, like I don't know, kind of like I've been run over by a car or something. Just head to toe body pain, and then I'm noticing like cold sweats going on with it too. And at this point, I'm not paying attention to anything that my biomechemistry professor is saying. I'm just like, I gotta get out of here. And so I managed to drive myself home in Atlanta traffic. If you're sick, don't drive through Atlanta traffic. It's not a good idea anytime. But I get home and my wife is there. And she's like, what's going on? You're not supposed to be home until 6. I said, I just. And at this point, I'm just like sick to my stomach. I'm sweating bullets. I can tell I'm feverish. Nothing feels good. So I go to bed. But I tell her, reach out to my student clinician and see if he would be able to give me an adjustment. I don't know. I know it can help. I don't know how. I don't know why. Never experienced it before. But he texts my wife back. He says, as soon as I'm done with class, meet me at my apartment at 6 p.m. So at about 6, I try to sleep, but it's really uncomfortable just being there in bed. My wife finally gets me out, gets me into the car. I'm just like gritting my teeth. It's probably the only time I've had her drive me anywhere. But she drives me to my clinician's house. He has a portable table laid out just in his office. And he has me lay down, and he checks me. And he goes through what I would call a tonal check, not a structural correction check, but a tonal check. He looks to see if there's anything in my body that will pull my feet out of balance. And there were a ton, but he picks 3, he adjusts them, he says, okay, I want you to walk around for 5 minutes, and then come back and lay back down. So I did. Laid back down. You can imagine he still found some stuff out. He adjusted 3 more. Said, all right, walk around this time for 15 minutes. Lay back down. This time he adjusts 3 more. After he adjusted me the 3rd time, I got up off the table as if nothing had happened. I was completely better. No fever, no chills, no body aches. I mean, I would have told you I had the flu, you know. But when I got up, I didn't have the flu. How's that possible if the flu virus causes the flu? The flu virus can be present. But here's the thing, and here's the thing that we missed during COVID. You don't get sick because you catch something. You get sick by your lifestyle habits and losing function over time. And when you lose enough function, then the overabundance of bad bacteria that grow in dysfunctional environments, kind of like rats to trash, or rats to a garbage can, or rats to a dump. You take away the dump, you take away the trash, you clean up the whole area, are rats going to come back? They're not. And so the thing that we don't realize is, well, yes, while I was in class, I was probably symptomatic and I was probably even contagious. But after that adjustment, when I stopped being symptomatic and I started functioning at 100% again, was I contagious? No, probably not. And that's the thing that I want you guys to take away from tonight is, you know, building bulletproof immunity is not about how you feel. You know, in that moment, I wanted to feel good, and you know, I would have paid somebody a lot of money to give me that kind of adjustment. But he did it out of the goodness of his heart. But it taught me a lesson that not only, you know, is my first line of defense, the adjustment in all things, but especially when I'm sick, I have to focus on the things that build function. So we're going to go through some of that tonight. I want you guys to walk away with not just the things that can make us sick, but even more importantly, the things that can make us healthy. We're going to go through some tools and tips on how, when we are fighting symptoms, to build that back up. And ultimately, we're going to go through several of the supplements as well that will help keep you guys from getting to that place. But it really is about that function. Now, for those of you that are online and watching, these guys have all been here before. If you're seeing the back of their heads, they've heard me do this a couple of times. But our mission here, as a part of Max Living, but also here in Lincoln, is to transform the way that the people of Lincoln and Nebraska in general view and manage their health so that they can address the root cause of any particular symptom or disease process that's building in their bodies. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing today. We're addressing that from an immunity perspective. And so Cheryl and I are going to be going through this. And if you watch the news, anybody here watch the news still? No, shame on you, shame on you. No, I'm joking. But yeah, what do they keep throwing out? They keep throwing out their coronavirus, flu. What's the one that everybody needs to get a vaccine for right now? Measles. Everybody's freaking out about measles. You know, what's another one? Shingles. They're throwing out there right now. Yeah, they're throwing all these things. There's going to be an outbreak. There's going to be a new epidemic. There's going to be a new pandemic. The pandemic's not over. Yeah, it's already in your system. You're going to get it. You already have it. Go to your doctor. Tell them this. And what are they working on? They're working on your fear. And what did we find with the first pandemic? We did it wrong. We did everything completely backwards, right? We did we shut down the beaches, we shut down the public parks, we shut down the gyms, we shut down everything that would have made us healthy. We said, hide, be in fear, be afraid, don't go to church, don't turn to places that give you peace, don't turn to your communities. You're going to kill the people around you if you do. Oh, but just 2 weeks to stunt the curve. And those are all the opposite things. What we find, and Cheryl's going to get into this in a minute, but we are healthier in community. We are healthier outdoors. We are healthier with healthy foods. We are healthy with exercise, and we are healthier together. So I'm going to hand this off to Cheryl. I'll come back at the end and we'll tie this thing back up.
So why this matters, I think he has kind of covered this. Your immune system is built to protect you, but it needs the right support. Some of you have probably heard me talk about our body defenses before. Our body defenses, first we have what we call our barriers, or our innate immune system. Innate means what I'm born I'm born with certain barriers, which is my skin, my cough reflex, my ability to sweat, urine, bowel movements, anything that's going to clean those pathways and prevent or reduce the amount of bacteria that can get in. That's my barrier system. That's everybody has it. Everybody's born with it. We also have the inflammatory process, which if your critter, as I was told this weekend, a critter is a bacteria, a virus, a fungus, a parasite, etc. So I may be using the word critter now because it's a little bit easier to say than all the rest of them. Anyway, if the critter gets past the barriers, we now have our inflammatory process. We have 5 primary responses of our inflammatory process. And if you sprain your ankle, it usually swells up, it gets red, it gets warm, it hurts, and you don't want to use it, so lack of function, okay? That's going to happen whether you sprain your ankle or you get a cut on your arm, or if a bug gets inside of you, a critter. Again, either way, you're going to have that inflammatory process. If that critter gets past all that, now we have our immune system. Immune system is not innate. You're not born with it functioning. Your immune system has to recognize that critter that comes in, and then it makes the appropriate response to deal with that. Of course, you need what for your immune system to work? You need a healthy nervous system. You need a healthy body to be able to provide what your nervous system needs, so that your body can make those proper antibodies exactly to kill off, because it's going to take a different antibody to kill off a chickenpox virus versus shingles, which are kind of the same, but not really, versus strep bacteria. So it takes different antibodies to do that. Our bodies are awesome. They know how to do that. But first they have to be introduced to those little bits and pieces so that they can. Again, we may not even know we're sick if our body is able to respond quickly enough. We don't need to fear. We need to make sure that we keep that healthy body, keep it tuned up, give it the nutrition that it needs, make sure that the nervous system is turned on. And then, like this one says, it's not just about avoiding illness, it's living strong. So we need that exercise, we need that oxygen as one of those essentials. Sorry, I skipped ahead. Innate immunity, what we're born with. Adaptive immunity, what our body has to adapt to fight off those critters. Innate immunity is very short term. I mean, it's fast responding. It's not short term. It's very fast responding because it's always there. It takes a little bit longer for the adaptive immunity at first. The first time I'm exposed to a strep bacteria, my body has to make the recipe, figure out what that antibody needs, or what recipe it needs to make the antibody. As soon as it has that recipe, it can just tuck it back there in the file. Next time that same bacteria comes by, it's attacked immediately. So it goes into the long-term memory, and then it's there forever. That's why once I get a disease, a bacterial disease, I'm never going to get it again because my body has prevented it. Key players, my T cells, B cells, you may have heard of T lymphocytes, same thing. B lymphocytes, macrophages, those are the Pac-Man cells that come in and clean up. Let me back up. T cells are helpful in fighting off virus infections as well as some cancer cells. B cells are your antibodies. They make antibodies, so they're good against the bacteria. The macrophages are the Pac-Man that come in and clean up the debris after the inflammatory process and after the the immune process. And then NK stands for natural killer cells. So they also are going to help boost our immune system. 70% of your immune system lives in your gut, so that's why we need to keep that gut healthy, well nourished. Of course, your nervous system is your command center, so your brain as well as your spinal cord. So allergies, when protection turns into overreaction. The technical term when I teach my nursing students is hypersensitivity, is the word that we use instead of allergies. There are 4 different types of hypersensitivity reactions. We're not going to get into all those because we don't need to. But allergies, my body's immune system is working overtime. Okay. I get the runny nose. That's my immunoglobulin E, IgE, if you've heard of that. IgG is one of those immunoglobulins that helps make a lot of, prevent some bacterial infections, those types of things. But if they get out of balance, or if my system is weakened somewhere or another, those antibodies, those immunoglobulins are going to work overtime. What can trigger some of these allergies? We know pollens, foods, dust, mold, really kind of confuses the immune system. And like I said, that IgE, primarily the histamines, you've all heard of antihistamines, which again is going to prevent that histamine reaction. Root causes, again, leaky gut, toxic overload, or interference with the nervous system. Kind of like what Dr. Jake was saying, get that nervous system aligned better when he was so sick, and his body immediately responded. So action steps, how we can help prevent this overreaction or hypersensitivity is eliminate those top allergens. So if you have problems with hypersensitivities or allergies, the top allergens are going to be gluten, dairy, and soy. Support that gut lining with glutamine, bone broth, and probiotics. And then get adjusted. Not necessarily in that order either. Okay. The problem with pills, short-term relief, long-term consequences. Oh man, I teach pharmacology, if you didn't know, to nursing students. So all of this, most meds suppress the symptoms, not support the immune function. Yeah. Antihistamine does what? Suppresses the histamines. Antihypertensive suppresses blood pressure. There's a lot of different ways that it reduces blood pressure, all of which were functions to maintain your blood pressure in the first place. So if we get to the cause, and it's not that you have a lack of lisinopril or your beta blocker, then that's why you have blood pressure problems. There's another problem, a root problem. Same way with your antibiotics. It's not that you have a lack of penicillin or a lack of Levaquin in your body, but sometimes we do need them. Sometimes over-the-counter drugs. They talked about the antihistamines, NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. What do we typically use NSAIDs for? For what? Headaches. So pain. What else? Inflammation. Did you know they also, well, they suppress the immune system. They suppress the inflammatory process. We just said the inflammatory process is a good thing to help our body prevent from getting sick. It suppresses your immune system. It messes with your platelets, so you're less likely to be able to clot. And it can chew up your gut. Oh, fever. Fever is another one that can reduce your fever. So overall, not a good thing. And I think I don't even remember where I heard it, but they said orthopedic surgeons now know that they should not prescribe NSAIDs for their patients because it interferes with bone healing, which it does because, again, it suppresses that inflammatory process that is responsible for that broken bone to heal. Anyway, steroids. Oh, anybody, you've all heard of cortisol, prednisone, cortisone, methylprednisolone, all of those O's. Also, they are used for an immune suppressant because if you have rheumatoid arthritis, they're going to want to put you on a steroid to suppress the inflammation. If you are on, if you have an autoimmune disease, they want to suppress the immune system. So they suppress the immune system, they reduce the inflammation again, they cause your blood sugars to go sky high, especially if you tend to have higher blood glucoses anyway, they're going to make it even higher. Steroids will also thin your skin. They can lead to something called Cushing syndrome. If you've heard that, it's a nasty disease or issue where people have abnormal fat deposits on their body. A lack of it can mess up the adrenal glands. So lots of different things. The longer you're on it, the more the side effects can happen. Side effects include fatigue, gut damage. I talked about that. Liver strain. All these meds have to be processed and metabolized through the liver. Hormonal disruption. Cortisol is a hormone. So if I give you more cortisol, that's going to increase your cortisol hormone. Cortisol also triggers the release of insulin. Glucose raises your blood glucose. There's also a trigger with epinephrine and norepinephrine, which are your fight or flight responses. So lots of things that can be associated with steroids. Rebound inflammation. Stop the drugs if you've taken them for so long and then you stop them and then the inflammation can come back. That's what rebound inflammation is. People who have COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, a lot of times are started on steroids or their inhalers have steroid in them. The purpose is to decrease the inflammation in the airways. Again, you can have that rebound inflammation and those airways can get re-inflamed. Let's see. Yeah, this is you weren't born with a Claritin deficiency. Claritin, of course, is an antihistamine. Your body isn't broken. The pathways are just blocked. So the framework then for your bulletproof immunity, as it says, are 5 essentials. Everybody hopefully knows what those are: core chiropractic, nutrition, mindset, oxygen and exercise, and then minimizing those toxins. So stress less, heal more. It's hard to stress less because what do? You stress more because you're trying to de-stress. So focus more on relaxation than de-stress. It's just a little play in words, but there is research out there that shows relaxation as opposed to de-stress is actually better. Again, chronic stress raises your cortisol level. Chronic stress is that fight or flight, that sympathetic nervous system. It's great in the event we've got a lion running in through the room. We would all be able to either hightail it out of here behind one of the doors or stand up and fight that lion. We would have the energy and the strength to do that. It's like the grandmother that's able to pick up the car off of the grandchild because of all that epinephrine, that adrenaline that's running. By the way, adrenaline and epinephrine are the same thing. They're just 2 words for the same thing. So if I use them interchangeably, just know that they're the same So with that stress response, your cortisol level goes up. What else did I say an elevated cortisol level does? Raises your glucose level, right? Raises your insulin level, raises your blood pressure, raises your heart rate. Is that a good place to be all the time? No. It's a great place if you need to get away from that lion or pick that car up off your grandchild, but you don't want to be there all the time. So relaxation, faith, breathing. So breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Controlled breathing, meditation, prayer, camaraderie, hang out with friends, go to your faith place. Things like that are going to really help. Every morning, this is what I'm thankful for. Whether you write it down or just think about it every night before you go to bed, this is what I'm grateful for today. Okay. Change your life. It really will. Mindset shifts your biology, not just your attitude. We want to get into, instead of fight or flight, we want to get into rest and digest, also called parasympathetic. Our dopamine's higher, our serotonin is higher. When I talk to students, I tell them rest and digest is how you feel after Thanksgiving dinner. All you would do is lay on the couch, drift in and out of sleep while you're watching the Cowboys getting beat. Okay. That's what you want to do. That's rest and digest. Your blood pressure's low. Yeah. They lose, but we don't want to watch them lose. People can get their fight or flight up if they're. Fortunately, they play the day before Thanksgiving. No, the day after, don't they? The day after. Yeah. No. Oh, they play the day after, and it's always Iowa. So anyway, you can change with your mindset. You can change your fight or flight. So again, I kind of skipped. I'm sorry. 5 minutes of gratitude journaling daily. What am I thankful for? Okay. The box breathing. 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, and hold for 4. And then limit the negative media consumption. Don't listen to the news. There is nothing good on that news. I listen to the radio station I listen to in the morning on the way in every DJ has to say something good news. So that I usually catch before I come in, but other than that, get rid of it. So eating to activate your nervous system, not to suppress. Again, nutrients drive your immune function. We need those healthy vitamins. We need the protein. We need the minerals, the fats, the healthy fats. What are the healthy fats? Olive, coconut, avocado, and we get nuts are healthy proteins as well as some oils. Okay. So those are our healthier fats. Sugar does what to our inflammatory process? Makes it a whole lot worse. Okay. So eliminate the sugar, carbohydrates, white breads, pastas. Anything that's going to turn into sugar quickly. Now, fruit sugars, the ones that are low, they all have a different level of how much they're going to raise your blood sugar. So the low glycemic fruits are going to be your berries, your Granny Smith apples, your lemons, limes, and grapefruits. Okay. The medium glycemic, that's your other apples, You're high glycemic, so avoid grapes, bananas, watermelons, those types of things. And if you do eat them, I mean, they have nutritional value, but small quantities and before noon. Okay. That way you have time to burn up that glucose.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you eat a big bowl of watermelon before you go to bed, you're going to spike. Yeah. So gut is your immune headquarters. Think about healthy guts. I talked a little bit earlier about bone broth, but bone broth is really going to be very beneficial to help restore that balance. I was going to use the word homeostasis, but balance. Whoops. What did I do? Okay. So eat to activate, not to suppress. So eat 7 colors a day. Start with your protein. And healthy protein. What's your healthy proteins? Grass-fed, grass-finished beef, free-range chicken. We learned this weekend that most dairy cattle, they may be grass-fed, but they're grain-finished if they're dairy cows. So check if you're with your farmers, because this particular woman said that she was asking these questions, and the farmer said it's absolutely impossible to milk a cow that's grass finished. Something new. I didn't know. She didn't either. Anyway, grass-fed, grass-finished beef, free-range chicken, eggs, free-range. Seafood should be wild-caught and preferably Pacific and not Atlantic. And then seed oils, coconut oil, corn oil, peanut oil, safflower oils, soybean oils, have those and any added sugars. Move daily. Movement helps your lymphatic system. What's your lymphatic system do? Helps get rid of waste products. Okay. We need that movement to cause the muscles to contract. The lymphatic veins don't have any contraction in and of themselves. They depend on the muscles around them to push that fluid out of your extremities. If you've ever known somebody who's had a mastectomy and then they get that lymphedema in their arms, a lot of times that's what it is. It's that lymphatic fluid. They took out lymph nodes, so now that fluid doesn't have that same pathway. They need to work on increased movement, whether it be active movement or passive through a lymphatic. Moderate intensity is going to boost your immunity. Again, it's going to burn that glucose. Glucose feeds those critters. And then sedentary life leads to a more stagnant system. Also, your bowels move better. Some of you may know that I got a puppy, and it's been, well, she's almost a year old now, but the lady that had her before I got her said they were having a lot of problems with constipation in this puppy. And my vet said, make her walk more. Duh, I haven't had a problem because I make her walk and play a lot. Same goes for humans. Walk or strength training 20 to 30 minutes, 5 times a week. Bounce on a mini trampoline, stretch hourly, breathe deeply during movement. Again, one of our core essentials is oxygen. And you know what? You're going to breathe more deeply if you're moving. If you're sitting up, you're going to breathe. Clear out the junk, so toxins. I think we've had a toxin workshop earlier this year. Toxins are everywhere. We cannot eliminate, but we can certainly reduce. The more we're aware, the more we can reduce our exposure to toxins. You can go to EWG, Environmental Working Group, .com, .org, probably .org, right? Antioxidants, absolutely, in our foods. Our more colorful foods have antioxidants in it. That's going to help with some of this detox. We can, again, Environmental Working Group has lists of the Dirty Dozen, those foods that should be purchased as organic, the Clean 15, which are the 15 foods that are less toxic because they're less raised with pesticides, etc., that you can buy. You don't have to get organic. They have a list of everything that's in your water. If you just want some really scary news sometime, instead of watching your local television, go to that and see what's all in your water. EWG, environmentalworkinggroup.org. Drainage organs must be supported. So again, I said earlier, the liver is responsible for metabolizing. The liver does about more than 40 different functions, but metabolism, it helps clean the blood. It helps do a tremendous amount of stuff. Kidneys, we all know kidneys are responsible for excretion. They filter everything that goes through. All the blood has to be filtered through those. So we need to keep those organs clean, functioning at their peak. And then if your drainage funnel is clogged, you're stuck. Yeah. You know, if you can't get rid of the waste. So how do you clear out the junk? Drink half of your body weight in ounces of water every day. So if you weigh 200 pounds, half of that is 100. You should be drinking 100 ounces of water per day, and not tap water, not bottled water, because then you're getting the microplastics that are coming in that, so filtered water. Poop daily. I don't know how many of you have heard that video here about the trains. And if you don't have, if you get 3 trains coming in every day to the train station, but only 1 train leaves a week, you get really backed up. That's their analogy for pooping. If you feed yourself 3 times a day, but you only poop once a week, you've got a lot of poop backed up. Okay. So we need to work on that. Sweat. Saunas. We've got the 2 infrared saunas back there. Workouts. When you're doing your exercises, work out until you're sweating. And hot baths will help you sweat as well. Again, that sweat is a way to detox. It helps protect your body. Okay. The nervous system, again, directs all healing and all immune function. Any misalignments cause interference and confusion, and adjustments will help clarify your immunity. That probably segue to
That's my cue.
To you.
Yep. All right. Need a volunteer. All right. So let's see. So what's one of the most important things in your body? What controls all function? Brain, spinal cord, nervous system. Yeah. So to get that out there, you need the normal position. Things in a great posture. Straight from the front, and then from the side, turn this way again. We have these 345-degree curves. So right now, his brain is communicating with his body. I just double checked. He got his adjustment just before shift. So what happens if we were to give him a smartphone right now? We'll just pretend this is your smartphone. What are you going to do? It's ringing, or it dings. It's a pretty girl. What are you gonna do? What posture are you gonna take? Typically. Yep. And what do our teenagers do? Like that. So every inch, let me stay down there for just a second. Every inch that his ear goes forward from his shoulder, that's 10 pounds of stress right across here. So I want everybody to take this position for me real quick. Just everybody drop your head down like you're looking at your smartphone. Everybody take a deep breath here. Yep. All right. Now go ahead and sit back up for me. Ears over shoulders. Now take another deep breath. How much deeper was that in the best posture? So he did not decrease your lung space at all right there. But by moving his head down like that, we decreased the neurological flow to his lungs and his heart by as much as 60%. That deep breath that you took was about 40% of the deep breath that you took when you sat up. And so many people are walking through life like this. Our kids now, I mean, this is your peer group, right? You guys grew up with smartphones. When you look at your friends and you go into a social room, they're down here. Or if they don't have their smartphone, this is their posture. They're walking around like that. So go ahead and take that posture from around your shoulders forward. Right? We used to call this old man posture. Parkinson's posture. From the ear to the shoulders. That's 10 pounds of stress. And then you drop it even farther forward to look at your smartphone. You're decreasing that even more. The chart over there says when you're looking down at your phone, 60 pounds of stress across the neck and shoulders. And we see just the research on cardiovascular health alone is that when you increase this curve, right? So that rounded shoulders, go ahead and round those shoulders again. When you increase that curve by 10 degrees or more, it doubles your risk of cardiovascular. Right? So his peer group for cardiovascular events, that's pretty low. But what have we seen since COVID? Myocarditis. Myocarditis attacks, and not just the elderly, but also kids. We're seeing it in kids a lot. And so what did kids do during the pandemic? They weren't allowed in schools. They had to sit on their laptops, right? Lunch again, right? They're on YouTube. They're texting their friends because they can't go out and play. They can't go to parks. They can't do all this stuff. And so where does a lot of the excretion of these toxins come out from? You breathe toxins in, you breathe toxins out. Even carbon dioxide comes out when you're breathing. And carbon dioxide isn't bad unless it's in too great of a dose. All right, question.
So if he had that mask on, that kept the toxins in.
Well, not only that, but that mask had a non-stick surface on it. Non-stick PFAs, microplastics. You're breathing that in. Now it's getting there. It's sticking on there. Plus all the bacteria and viruses that are in your lungs, whether they're good or not, now they're building up on that mask, and you're keeping it warm, you're keeping it moist, and then you're breathing it back in, and now you're getting higher concentrations of even what would be considered good bacteria in your lungs. So now let's give Tim here, let's give him a scoliosis, right? He was straight and solid here. Let's drop one shoulder off to the side, maybe raise that hip up a little bit, lead him over, and of course his head's gonna come back that way. So now, the nerves that come out right here, of course, go to your thyroid, they go to the heart. Are those things functioning at 100% or less than? Less than. You know, he's got this curvature here through his upper back. Upper back, that's heart and lungs again, but now we're also talking about upper digestive system, liver, kidneys, pancreas. Are those things functioning at 100% or less than? Okay, his hip is up, so his low back curve is going off to the side as well. Now we're talking about the organs of lower digestive organs, the bladder, the prostate. Is that going to be functioning at 100% or less than? Now, does it hurt at all to hold that position, Tim? A little bit. It's uncomfortable because his normal position is normal. He's starting to learn how normal feels. When he came in, he didn't know how normal, right? What you felt was pain, right? He was in excruciating pain when I first saw his spine. Yeah, it was worse in the morning. And so now we've restored the alignment of the spine. We've restored a lot of the function of his spine. His spine is getting healthier and maintaining that position. So now abnormal feels abnormal. But if you slowly grow into that, it doesn't feel abnormal. Your 40% breath feels like 100%. And unless it triggers pain, why would you go see anybody, let alone a chiropractor, about the posture of your spine? It's just, oh, that's a normal variant. And that's actually what I was taught in school. A reduction in curve in the neck was just considered a normal variant. Huh. And you know why? Any of them. All the chiropractic schools, normal variant. This is the radiology classes on the Part 4 boards. This is a normal variant. Because in the research, all the techniques that they teach us don't actually correct the spine. They mobilize the spine, but a mobilized spine where this is normal doesn't actually change the posture of the spine. And so this is why structural corrective chiropractic is so important. Because when you adjust the spine for correction, then you can actually restore those normal curves. You can take that scoliosis out, you can rebalance the hips and pelvis, and restore the normal function of the central nervous system. Thank you, Tim. Everybody give him a round of applause. Great example there, right? So we want to reduce those interferences to the spine. So what are those interferences called? They're called subluxation, a condition of less light. Literally, your brain is not talking to your body the way that it's designed to. So we want to make sure that that's normal. So how do we tell when those are there? Because they don't always cause pain, right? Because you learned this posture because you spent so much time here, reading your book. Or I had to talk to one lady about how she read her Bible. Like, talk about a tough conversation. No, do not stop reading your Bible, but stop reading it down here, right? You know, this is the one place where maybe reading it on your phone would be better, so you can hold it up here. It's easier to hold here than the 15-pound Bible that you got for your wedding. So how do you get assessed for subluxations? Who checks the spine for subluxations? Can your medical doctor check it? No, they're not trained in it. Can your neurologist check you for subluxations? They know how to detect a scoliosis, and they can measure for text neck or tech neck, but they don't actually know how to detect subluxations. They can measure decreased function in the nervous system, but they don't know how to diagnose subluxation. So it's really just a chiropractor that's trained in detecting. But then correcting it, truly correcting it, getting back to the normal posture of the spine, like Tim modeled for us so well, really comes down to the nerve scan and the x-rays. And so I just had a new patient this afternoon who came in just a few minutes before most of you guys did. And he's been going to a chiropractor for quite a while for his low back pain, never got a single x-ray. Hasn't seen his chiropractor since March, but that's his regular, normal chiropractor that he sees. How likely do you think it is that I'm going to find on his x-ray a normal functioning spine? I'm not. It's not going to happen because he's not doing enough for it. And so we need to make sure that we're consistently getting assessed. I like to do that every 12 visits, do a reassessment, x-rays at least once a year, just to make sure wellness-wise we're not losing anything. And then if we are, that makes fix set protocol, right? Warm up the spine, we adjust the spine. We don't just adjust it by cracking it. I use the ArthroStim tool because from research, it's the one tool that we have that actually builds curves back in the spine and removes curves from the spine where they should. And so that's a great way to get adjusted. And then we continue to keep your nerve supply clean and clear so that your function stays at your 100%. So you guys may remember some of these folks. Gabby worked here a while ago. Pablo was my first office employee. Some of you were here when she came in. Jan has since passed on, and Claire Ruth is still a patient. But this is right after a workout. Pablo, when we were first here, we would go, she not only managed the office, but she would go with me to seminars, just like Cheryl and April and I did this weekend. And we went down to Orlando for a weekend to learn from Max Living and learn some protocols and all this. And she went out with a couple of her friends to eat at a seafood place. And now, what does the Bible say about shellfish? It's unclean. It's junk. It literally calls it trash. It's trash food. Shellfish is trash food, according to the Bible. Well, if it's trash food, how should your body respond to trash? Yeah, throw it out. And so she immediately, as soon as she gets it, she starts breaking out in hives. You know, she starts sweating. You know, what's her body trying to do? It's trying to detox. I mean, it's having those immune reactions, like Cheryl was talking about. And she feels awful. You know, she calls me up right away. She's like, Jake, something's going on. I was like, what do you have in your purse? for supplements because we travel with our supplements when we go to seminars. She said, I have some vitamin D3 and probiotics. I'm taking. Yep, double the dose. Why? Because D3 supports your immune system. If it's low, you need to keep that level high. So she takes it. Doesn't really feel very much better. I get there in the next 15 minutes or so. What do? I check her atlas. Why do I check atlas? Because atlas is protecting the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is what's going to respond negatively if there's anything in the immune system or in the digestive system. That's also a part of the lungs, but really, we're going to be looking there, especially for an autoimmune or hyper reactivity reaction like what Hamlet was having. And so, yes, atlas was way off. So I adjusted it. And then, fortunately, we had the sleeping rules for her there because I didn't have a table. I just adjusted it in a chair and then later on the rolls. I waited there for 15 minutes. I had her come back up. I checked it again. Need to get it adjusted again. I adjusted it. Had her lay on the rolls. She's drinking water this whole time. 15 minutes there, popped her back up, checked her atlas. It was off again. Her immune system was responding to that. We adjusted it again. This time when she came up, her symptoms were about 60% better. Within a couple of hours and a lot of water and a couple of trips to the bathroom, she was 100% better. And that's just an instance of what can happen when you have one small reaction to trash in your system. I've seen the same thing happen with my kids when they get exposed to artificial dyes, artificial colors, artificial sweeteners, artificial flavors. But yeah, she responded beautifully to that. So I also wanted to give you guys these tools as well. So this is brand new stuff. So you guys here have been in this class a couple of times to see what these things are. This is the new baseline. This is where I want everybody to start. Unless you've got something, philosophical against one of these ingredients in here, which you shouldn't, because these are all biblically based supplements. We're going for the best of what God created and everything to give you a good, what we call foundational 3 baseline. And so we've got number 1, the inflammation and immune support. So it's got your curcumin in there. It's got your vitamin D3 in there. It's got a lot of really good things that start you off that if you were dealing with inflammation or an compromised immune system, that we want to start you on today. And that really, the levels that are in there are good to support regular, healthy, functioning immune and inflammation reactions. Secondly, cellular health and longevity. Anybody here want cellular health and longevity? Yeah. No. So this is designed to support those processes as well. And then digestion and detox. Who here wants healthy digestion? Who here wants to be able to get rid of the toxins that we all of us, every single one of us are exposed to every single day. And so this is where we start. This is what I recommend for everybody to get started. Now, some of you might also need magnesium, and we definitely need to make sure we have healthy, optimal vitamin D3 levels. And that's not included in here, but if you need a healthy diet, right, the advanced plan or the core plan, you're going to be getting more of these things, whereas the stuff that's in here is going to be harder to get from there. Why? The soil's depleted, right? Right? We're getting 60 to 70% less nutrients in our food than we did. And so we need to be supplementing. And this package here, if you're going to get 1 or all 3 or anywhere in between, 20% off tonight only. So everything else is for 15% off, but this is 20% off tonight only. You have to, even if we run out tonight, you have to order it tonight if you want that discount. Plus, you get 5% off for having your Wellness Warrior card, so 25%. So that's where I would start with Bulletproof Immunity. So it's 3 capsules a day. And so you take 1 of each for breakfast or with that, whichever meal you break fast with. You take 1 with lunch and you take 1 with dinner. Oh, but Dr. Jake, what if I only eat my first meal and then I finish with the last meal and I don't have one in between? I'll figure out the math. Just get 6 in per day. That's 9 in per day between all 3. So pretty easy. No guesswork here. No hassle. So what's our checklist? We got to hit the 5 pillars, the 5 essentials. Mindset. Focus not on stress. Focus on creating peace. Peace only comes from one place. That's in the Bible. That's in worship. That's with Jesus Christ. Secondly, nutrition. You got to fuel your defenses. Eat to live. Don't live to eat. Right? Don't get dyslexic with that either. Third, move. Movement is life. You're not going to get all those nutrients to every cell in your body unless you're moving consistently throughout the day. Detox, we got to drain the swamp. It is a constant swamp. We live in a fallen world, and this is the one essential that we cannot, no matter how hard we try, we can't do this perfectly. And chiropractic is the last thing, that nervous system, keeping that prime system. Everyone needs a chiropractor. No one's exempt. Not your mom, not your sister, not your brother, not your son, not your daughter. Everyone needs a chiropractor. Does everybody need an adjustment? I found a few that didn't, believe it or not. Really? Not today, anyways. Right? Are they going to need one? I can guarantee that. Right? So everybody should be checked. Right? But this is something that I'm really excited about. This is brand new, something that we're diving into. So over the weekends, Cheryl, April, and myself, we started looking into functional nutrition, not functional medicine. We're not medical doctors. We are chiropractors. We share a chiropractic or vitalistic philosophy. But one of the things that I've always known is that oftentimes I make blanket general statements that are mostly true, most of the time for most people. They're good rules and they're good principles to follow, but sometimes there's exceptions, and sometimes there's things that I can't tell just by looking at you and talking with you based off of your symptoms or based off of your lifestyle. And so I've always known that it's better to test and not guess. And so starting today, starting tonight, you guys are the first people that have access to our spotlight test. And so these are very comprehensive, but they're not your classic blood work. In fact, none of this is blood work. There's a blood spot test in here, but most of these, one of them is a stool test, one of them is a urine test, one of them is a blood spot test. So the GI spotlight test, any guesses as to what that would be looking at specifically? So specifically, we're looking at the makeup of the microbiome. So your microbiome is your immune system, right? And so this actually looks up at the ratio of good and bad bacteria in the gut. If you have a candida overgrowth, this finds it. If you have SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, this finds it. If you have parasites, this detects it. And that's just one of about 30 different things that it looks at. If you have one specific strain that's going crazy, it'll find it. So that's really cool. Second one here is genomics. So we had one patient, Ruth, you saw her earlier, came back and told us that she had tested positive for MTHFR. What is MTHFR? It's a genetic mutation that keeps your body from being able to methylate B vitamins. That sounds bad, right? Yeah, basically it means that when you take a B vitamin, your body just treats it as a toxin. It's toxic to your body unless it's the methylated. She had been getting for years injections of synthetic B vitamins. She was literally poisoning herself and didn't know because she didn't know she had the genetic mutation. Now, that's just one of many different genetic mutations that this test looks at and identifies. And then this last one, metabolomics. This one is very sciencey. So if you've taken more advanced classes, like I mentioned biochemistry earlier, you learn about the Krebs cycle, you learn about the lactic acid cycle, you learn about all these different cycles that are happening in your day that are part of your metabolism, how you process energy. Basically, the metabolomics, it looks at all the byproducts of all of those cycles and detects if any of those isn't functioning properly, isn't hitting on all cylinders. And so this one, if you're dealing with diabetes or weight loss resistance or insulin resistance or leptin resistance, this is going to detect it. It's going to actually give us a protocol to help get it out. That's specific based off of that. Genomics, if you're not processing vitamins, if you're not processing food well, this one's going to detect if it's in your genes. And then this one here, if you're having any sort of immune suppression issues, or if you're having any sort of skin issues or irritations, or you're the one that gets colds or flus every single season, then that's the one for you. So for me, I see this, I'm like, I just want to know. I'm kind of a nerd about this. I want to see what's going on. And so I would want to take all three. Now, these are not inexpensive tests. I'll tell you that right now. They are not covered by insurance. Why?
Because it doesn't involve medicine.
Well, because they specifically, insurance is only indicated Insurance only covers things that are considered medically necessary. And medical necessity is defined not as prevention, wellness, or longevity, but simply the treatment and management of symptoms. And none of this is specific to symptoms or diagnoses. Everything in here is cause focused, getting to the root. So blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancer, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia. These are the tests that you want in order to get to the root of what's going on. So each of these, if you wanted any one of these, it would be $399 for one. So obviously we're approaching $1,200 if you want all three. So if you wanted all three, we're going to do that for $999. So $999 for all three, as opposed to applying the 20% discount. Just do that for one.
Now, who has produced it?
So this is these are done by Designs for Health, but we send it to Genova Diagnostics. That's the lab that we use to help test that. So as time goes on, we're going to expand this offering. We're going to offer some cheaper tests that look at less things. We're going to offer some more expensive tests that look at more things, so you can pay a little bit more, but get more information without having to get a second test or any of that. But if you are curious, if you're struggling, if you have a friend that's struggling, this might be a good place to start. I know you don't actually have to get chiropractic for this stuff to work, right? Because you can address any essential that's deficient and get that better. So if you have a friend or family member that's in need of that, definitely. I have a niece, I may have told some of you, that is dealing with type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is autoimmune, and so of course I want to get her the GI spotlight test so that we can get to the root cause of why her body's fighting itself and attacking those pancreas.
And when you get to the root,
There's a protocol. Yeah, it comes with the test.
okay.
So yeah, so once we figure it out, they send us the results back. The process takes about a month.
And what is the protocol?
So it depends on what we find.
Okay.
So it's not one that I can just say, oh, here
Okay.
you go.
It
Right,
wouldn't
I
be
could-
like food and,
Yeah, I could, if we knew right now that you had candida, I'm not giving anything away here. This
okay.
is
Okay,
a
good.
hypothetical. You know, if we knew hypothetically that, or specifically that you had been diagnosed, because this test came back and you had candida, there'd be a diet and there'd be a supplement regimen that goes specifically for candida. That's how cool this is.
That is-
And so when you buy one of these tests, you're not just buying a test, you're also buying the follow-up consultations with Cheryl or myself to go through the results of the test and walk you through implementing that. And so if you decide to buy one of these tests, here's my recommendation. You start today on the advanced plan. Because when you start on the advanced plan, you're actually going to be addressing a lot of the deficiencies that we're going to find in the test already. So once we get the protocol, then it's just simple tweaks and changes to address the deficiency or overgrowth that we're seeing specifically. Make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so your next steps. Number one, take action today. So I always say this, and I'll say it again, I'll say it every time. Pick 1 to 3 things that resonated with you tonight and take action today, right now. Because if you don't do it tonight, what's going to happen tomorrow? Right? Even I forget some of this stuff between these classes. I have to spend the next month preparing for the next class. So it's like, okay, this information can go over here. Now it's time to go over here, right? So hopefully you wrote something down. Take action on it tonight. Build it into your schedule, into your day-to-day. Put it on a to-do list. Secondly, stock up. 20% off, right? You're getting that discount. So if you're deficient, or if you know you need more vitamin D3, you need more multivitamin, you haven't tried the new foundational 3 yet, get on those, get those in, and start in on that. And then number 3, create a community of health, right? So health is not best done by yourself. It might feel like it. It's kind of political right now because of the whole Maha movement thing. Like, I'm all for the Maha movement. I consider myself part of the Maha movement, but I'm not politically aligned with any person. I'm your doctor. I'm here to get you healthier. You know, let's continue to meet, continue to get to know each other, but also bring people in that you know could benefit from this. And you know, if they're a little skeptical, if they need to learn a little bit more, bring them to the recap dinner. So we're not doing one, we are doing one this month. 2 weeks from tonight, we have reserved I believe is it the Lancaster room, April? Or the Lincoln room? Lincoln room. They both start with L. It's at the venue. We are paying for the food unless you show up by yourself. Then it's $20. You show up by yourself, you're paying for your own dinner. $20 for food and drink.
And a new person, not somebody who brought before.
Not just a guest, not just any guest.
Not bring a net.
Yeah, a new friend that needs to hear this information. That gets you a free dinner and that gets them. We want to help people. We want to change the way people in Lincoln view and manage their health. And that only happens by getting the people of Lincoln and Omaha. And so we're going to do that at the recap dinner. Now, about a month from now, we're going to do another one, right? So if for whatever reason, Monday, the 23rd at 6:30 p.m. doesn't work out for their schedule, well, still invite them, still give us their name, still confirm that they're able to make the next one. And we'll keep doing this. Yep, July what? 14th. So yeah, not even a month from that day. So yeah, we want to fill this up. We want to get as many people to these dinners as possible so we can start to change and transform. And then when's the next class? Do we have that up there in the office?
No, because we don't have anything in July.
Okay. So
in July,
probably what I will do is in the month of July, I haven't picked the date yet, I will do a recap of this class at Natural Grocers. Probably, if I can find a date that works with both of our schedules. So if you know somebody that should have been here tonight, or if you're watching online and you missed part, or you want to hear something again, or come back around, Natural Grocers will usually pick a Saturday morning to do that. So you can go, you can shop, and then you can watch, or you can come here, get adjusted, and go with me out there, listen to the class, and then shop, and then take your stuff, with you. But definitely keep plugging in, keep engaging in the community, because that's how we transform. That's how we transform. That's how we transform the process. Thank you guys for your time. I'll stick around for questions. I'm going to turn off the video cameras and everything. So make sure you stock up.
one last thing on my end. This is for my women. I talked about having a self-defense class. I did set that up with the martial arts place, and that will be, I'm giving you guys heads up. So if you work, you can get on August 23rd between 10 to 12. It is a 2-hour class, and it's all hands-on. So you will need to bring yoga pants and be prepared to start trying to defend yourself. So